Good morning. We are here in the studio listening to Wolf Parade with their song Cloud Shadow on the Mountain. And this is the show, and it's starting slow. And we've got some news that we'd like to read to you after we get around to it. In the meantime, I guess enjoy some jazz. Alright, so I hope that PSA went up properly. Now, UK's Big Blue Pantry serves UK students facing hunger or food insecurity. Any UK student with a valid IG is eligible to receive non-perishable goods from the pantry. The pantry also welcomes donations from the community and is open 5 days a week. They are located in the basement of Whitehall Classroom Building next to the post office. For more information on donations, hours, and how to get involved, visit ukcco.org/bigbluepantry or email bigbluepantry@gmail.com. All right, so, and I guess that was a very brief commercial interruption. Do you want to go back to Iran or move to other topics?
Or music, whatever you want.
I don't know. I mean, I wanted to talk about. I've been thinking a lot about problems in systems and systemic injustice because I went to my court date today for my horrifically. I guess only technically wrongful arrest. Like, I guess that's, I was arrested for the wrong reasons.
When?
Back in December, right before Christmas.
Okay.
I was arrested for a for a speeding ticket that I apparently got in 1999. And ended up spending the night in the Winchester jail. Which has led to an interesting experience, which is still ongoing. But today I went to court and, saw one of the guys that I was in jail with, who is a 74-year-old man who was arrested for DUI. He was drinking in his car to keep warm. He lived in a trailer park, and he was sitting in his car and drinking in his car to keep, running the car to keep warm and drinking a beer.
In his driveway?
In his driveway. And so they arrested him, and they took him down and, gave him a ticket and everything like that and released him, and he went home. And then a couple days later, easy ticket. They knew he'd be there. They knew he wasn't driving anywhere. So they went to the same place and they arrested him doing the exact same thing, sitting in his car, running the car to keep warm, drinking a beer. And
doesn't seem quite just.
Well, I mean, if you know to look for him in the same place every time, he's obviously not driving.
Right.
But we haven't even really gotten to justice today yet, because actually, as it happened today.
You mean Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
Okay.
5 weeks from when it happened, I went to court today, and it was his day in court, too. And he had already been in jail for 7 days when I got there, and sleeping in a concrete room that was for 2 people, that had 6 people in it, on these little tiny mats, and they always kept it cold. It was extremely cold, so he was suffering. He was getting sick. He's like 74 years old. And apparently what happened is he finally got somebody to pay bail for him, and they put an ankle monitor on him, and he went to his trailer. He moved back to his home county of Carter County and went to his trailer, and as best as I understood the story today, apparently they messed up the paperwork and they didn't mean to release him, or somehow him being on an ankle monitor at his family land meant that he was fleeing or something like that. So they came and they arrested him again. And he's been in jail for 5 weeks. And the reason why it was hard to get the story out of him was that he's dying. Like, his skin was gray. He was covered with blood. He was literally bleeding in court. Like, everybody was, like, just shocked. Everybody, and he's, like, hunched over at, like, 90 degrees, and his skin's, like, bright gray, and completely disoriented. Couldn't begin to tell, like, who he was talking to or what was going on, or,
Didn't he have a public defender?
Well, yeah, to the sense that there's a public defender sitting there. This is technically pre-trial. So you would meet a public defender after this. But he wasn't even really able to communicate. It was a really sad sight. I mean, he was like literally bleeding in court. And I mean, this all happened because he was poor.
Yeah.
You know, he would have been out the first time on bail. He would have been inside because he would have been able to pay his heating bill.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been sitting in the same place. And he's a good old boy from Winchester. He's 74 years old. Didn't have an arrest record before this, and they're literally grinding him to death. He's gonna die. And I happen to know people who are involved at every level. And they're all decent people. Like, it's the system that's doing this. Nobody wants it to happen. Everybody that sees it is shocked.
Yeah.
But it's still happening.
Good point.
Yeah.
Something wrong somewhere.
Well, it's an endless wheel, and everybody's pointing at each other. I've been going to the fiscal court meeting and the city commission meetings, and I saw the judge today, and I definitely saw the inside of the jail, and I've been going back by the jail and checking it out again. And growing up in Winchester, like, obviously, I know how things used to be. I know things used to be even worse than that. You know, I've had a lot of friends that have passed through the Winchester jail. So yeah, anyway, like, everybody's pointing at everybody else. And,
Right.
You know, and everybody says, like, oh, we're like $600,000 in the hole because of this jail. We got to come up with an extra $600,000 in Clark County to pay for keeping people in this jail when they've got 6 people in a room. And if this dude dies, I for sure hope his family sues. Even though, like, everybody that's met him has treated him with the utmost decency.
Mm-hmm.
Like, everybody can see that what's happening to him is wrong, and everybody wishes they could change it. I mean, and the judge was actually talking about it. He was just like, why is it that so many people come in here and couldn't get a phone call? And it's like,
Good
well,
question.
the reason why they can't get a phone call is because the Clark County Jail has so many people in it, because they have all the prisoners from Madison County, because the jail in Madison County bankrupted Madison County. So they sent all their prisoners to everywhere in Kentucky. And now they've got 6 people in a 2-person room in Clark County.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we're $600,000 in the hole. We've got to come up with like $750,000 in a county of 30,000 people to pay for this thing. And it's not working out for anybody.
No, it isn't.
No. I mean, this dude had an American right to be 74 years old and sit on a couch and drink a beer. And I don't know. I mean, I happen to know his family, and I hope they sue. All right, I guess we should listen to music or talk about Iran. But that's my critique of systemic injustice for the afternoon. That's what's on my mind with that. I suppose we'll listen to track 4 of this album. Hello, we're back again on WRFL, Radio Free Eskippakithiki. Haven't figured it out yet, but I'm still working on how to pronounce the name of the show. It's not even important what it's named after. So anyway, Geoff, what would withdrawing from Iraq and Afghanistan look like? How could we do that without, I don't even know, without answering the objections or that we would cause a humanitarian crisis by withdrawing?
Well,
our
we
troops?
created the humanitarian crisis when we invaded and conquered Iraq in 2003.
Yeah.
So the United States has been an occupier. And in international law, occupiers have no rights, only responsibilities. Their main responsibility is to leave. So
Yeah.
in terms of the people of the Middle East, United States military leaving would have no bad consequences to speak of, and only good consequences.
Yeah, when somebody
And it's
robs
required.
your house, like, the least they can do is leave after robbing
That's
you.
right.
You know, they can't just stay forever. Yeah. It's hard to... People want to put some sort of moral justification for why we're in Iraq and Iran, but I mean, all you have to do is look at your keyboard and see that it's a QWERTY keyboard to see that there are mistakes in this world. Right? Like, that people just make mistakes and they keep making mistakes for the longest time. Like...
Well, you were talking about systems.
Yeah.
In the first segment, and so when you're talking about systems, the word mistakes doesn't really apply. Systems have their own
Yeah. Okay.
goals and logic, and someone, I can't remember who, said there are no persistent failed policies. If a policy that looks really terrible goes on for a long time,
Yeah.
it's their actual goal that they're achieving.
It serves an evolutionary purpose. I mean,
It serves the purposes of the people who own the system.
I don't think they really own the system either. I think they happen to be on top of it.
All
I
right,
think they're
all right.
as confused by it as the rest of us. No, terrible things happen to rich people. Like not all of them, obviously. Like most of their lives, I'm sure, is water skiing and eating. But you and I are very unlikely to get killed in a helicopter crash.
Right.
Nobody's going to kidnap us for, anything other than fun. Nobody's going to hold us for ransom, stuff like that. Really weird things can happen to really rich people. Anyway, I have some sympathy for them, especially with monsters like Harvey Weinstein in the world. And I know I'm drifting a little bit from the point, but the fact that somebody like Harvey Weinstein was created and was allowed to thrive shows that he filled some sort of purpose in some sort of brutal social ecosystem.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and
I haven't thought about that one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we keep invading. Maybe it has a purpose. I don't know.
No, that's the issue I've thought about a lot over the last 40 years.
Why are we so invadey?
Yeah. Why is the United States considered by huge numbers of people all around the world as the greatest threat to peace?
Yeah. Well, they're finally getting through to us. They've been telling us for years, but China's sitting there telling us look, we didn't invade anybody, and now we have this cool train. and everybody in America's like, I wish we had a train instead of a record of atrocity.
Yeah, but to run an empire takes all your money.
Yeah.
We cannot afford to make America great again because we're too busy making America violent.
Yeah.
Making America the ruler or the self-proclaimed ruler of every other country.
Yeah, maintaining military hegemony over...
Yeah, we can't afford both.
A desert.
We can't afford both.
No, but they're really stuck into this pattern, and they've got themselves backed into a corner where, they really feel like people will be angry at them if they find out what's really going on.
Right, but people are going to find out anyway through the left-wing press,
well,
the internet.
Yeah.
The information is seeping through.
Yeah.
And they can't keep control of the narrative forever.
The osmotic pressure of the truth.
Yeah,
I don't believe
I like that phrase.
I don't believe in any media source. I believe in the grand aggregation of media sources, but I don't believe in any particular media source at any particular time, just because...
Well, some are really reliable.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I've never been part of anything that made it into the news that properly conveyed what was there. Just sometimes more friendly than others. Like that Iran protest was super friendly. That reporter was totally into it, but
it didn't get aired.
Yeah, and it didn't show what the protest was really like, because how could you? How can you convey what a protest is like?
Well, I'm not talking about the difficulty of reporting. I'm talking about systemic biases in the media. Well, especially corporate media, but it extends over to public radio, public media too. It's a worldview. It's a narrative that the people who own the billionaires, let's call them, or the oligarchs of the Western Empire need to control. They need to control the narrative, and that might be their weakest spot.
Yeah, they need to maintain. Everybody needs to maintain the fiction of themselves as good guys.
And the system is good. Yeah,
it's worth it. It's worth it. What's one more bleeding old man? We're keeping the streets safe.
So, Caitlin Johnstone, a blogger that I really like.
Yeah, I'm a
fan. She's from Australia. She's been blogging for a few years now about what's really going on in the world.
Yeah.
Highly recommend her. She says, whoever controls the narrative controls the world.
I don't think so, because I don't think the narrative can be controlled. I don't think anybody's really in charge. I think there are factions who are slightly more in charge than others, but I think at the end of the day, it's all completely out of control, and they don't know what to do either.
They may not. I don't know.
That's my conspiracy theory.
They know what they have to do. For example, if there's a reporter who gets out of line, they know you've got to fire that person. And
they don't have
and that's what they do.
But they don't have to ask anybody. They don't get, like, a cigarette smoking man doesn't come by. They're just like, they go, oh man, this guy's trouble. This guy's going to get me in trouble. I'm getting rid of him. And it doesn't even have to wait until he does his magnificent expose and reveals that Two-Face is running Gotham. Like, the guy's going to be trouble ahead of time. They're winnowed out of the system from the beginning. Right. By the culture. I mean, like, I was watching an interview with a Fox News guy, and he said, like, nobody ever had to tell us what political tack to take. Right. We were all just racing towards the same general political goal. Any organizations like that.
Well, and their own personal goals to have a nice, high-paying job as a reporter or talking head or commentator. Yeah. So
and
the word funnel is great. Yeah. They're being pushed to say certain things and more important, not say certain things, not talk about certain things, not cover certain issues. Yeah. Because they just know, they get a sense, it becomes...
They know what's popular.
Becomes an instinct. They know what's going to be popular with their boss.
He comes, like J. Jonah Jameson comes in chomping a cigar, and he's just like, hey, Larry, there was real good pictures of Spider-Man this week. I want more pictures of Spider-Man. You know, it's reinforced. They know what's expected of them.
Right. And when you have thousands of people working that way under that kind of system, the system itself becomes a propaganda system and not a source of unbiased information.
But see, that's what we're finding out because, since 2016, we've been in the long, dark night of the liberal soul. And we can see that, like, so much of what amounts to propaganda is just an echo chamber. Right. Like, what is it, 97% of the gatekeepered media comes out of 3 counties? Something like that? Everybody knows if you want to work in this industry, you go to New York City, you go to L.A., you go to... well, those are your choices.
Okay.
So, yeah, everybody knows that if you want to do this, you go to this place, so you get this very high concentration of these people, and you get this real groupthink thing. And I think that's where a huge amount of the media, what's seen as media bias, comes from. Is just people like the Washington Post. Whoever works the Washington Post is obviously in a self-reinforcing echo chamber, right? Where they are required, they're supposed to weaponize truth. If you're a reporter for the Washington Post right now, you've got targets that you're supposed to hit.
Or weaponize the news.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. The relationship of the truth to the news is more tenuous than ever right now.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can't forget that we live in a corporate capitalist system, and the owners have the final say, the billionaires. And in the case you mentioned, the Washington Post, they got a $500 million contract from the CIA to provide information services.
But the CIA is not all powerful. Like, the CIA is not going to mess us up for talking bad about them, probably. Like, the CIA tried really hard to buy a U.S. representative here in Kentucky and failed and threw all their money away. So I'm sorry, but yeah, they absolutely do that. Like, the CIA is absolutely helping to purchase American news, and that is horrific.
Well, it's illegal. According to the act in 1947 that established the CIA, they're not supposed to conduct operations in the United States.
Yet they always have.
And they always have. They've always violated that.
Some of them really creepy, weird, spooky operations.
Yeah.
Like things that are obviously Stanford prison experiment stuff gone awry, where people got into some sort of self-reinforcing system of brutality and and daring each other to see who can go farther. And this like frat boy mentality, which led to them to like, what, they like released a biological weapon in a school in Minnesota, in Minneapolis. I mean, that's just like the best documented of all their horrific crimes. But like, they would just do these like ridiculous things. And they did this ridiculous thing where they tried to take over Iran, and it didn't work, and it made everything worse. So they just tried again, and now they're trying again, and now they're trying again.
Well, right.
And McCain and Clinton, Hillary Clinton, being the world two biggest cheerleaders for war with Iran that we've seen in our lifetime that I know of.
Well, John Bolton.
Yeah, that guy.
But, you know, there's a bunch of them. They're neocons. I call them neocons.
Yeah, I used to call them neocons. I guess I still do. But there was a time when I thought that Hillary Clinton was in opposition to the neocons. And now
I can't think of a time when that would have been true.
Well, there was a time that it seemed like that to me.
Yeah, okay, all right.
You know.
So, yeah, there are these horrific incidents, CIA giving people LSD without their knowing it.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to focus on is the mundane things that they do every day.
Yeah.
In multiple places at the same time within our media system, within the mass media, to just basically control the narrative. And, you know, I think they're kind of embarrassed by these extreme, outrageous examples. Everybody talks about they tried to assassinate Castro, you know, maybe 50 times. And one of those times was by an exploding cigar.
Yeah.
They didn't succeed, but the outrageous extreme things get the attention. But the real danger, I think, is in the mundane, day-to-day things that don't get into the news and just become a part of the air we breathe.
You mean where they're just, like, gradually pushing...
Constantly pushing a narrative. And so what is the narrative? America is the exceptional nation. But what the implications of the corollary of that is, therefore, the United States government can do whatever it wants anywhere in the world.
Our needs take primacy because we are exceptional.
We're exceptional. We're so exceptional we don't have to obey the law. We can invade. We can overthrow any government we don't like. We can murder anybody we don't like. And add all that together and you've got a rogue country.
Do you think it's fair to say that the aggregate of America is psychopathic? Like if you take America as a whole?
I don't generalize that big.
I mean,
sorry,
we're just incredibly violent and untrustworthy.
That's true. And we're talking about international affairs. That's right. The United States word is worthless today.
Well, it really...
We've lied. We've broken so many treaties that nobody even bothers to talk to us. Or Iran doesn't even want to talk to the United States because they see no point. And North Korea is reaching that stage now or very soon where they don't even bother to talk to us because they know that nothing we say can be believed.
Yeah, maybe we're not the best choice for world policemen.
Good point. Maybe there shouldn't be a world policeman.
Well, yeah. But the idea that nobody would enforce war crime law statutes, for example, or international pollution statutes,
right?
It really is concerning to me. Like, I'm trying.
Well, there is the UN.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be one of its roles.
Yeah, and the short-sightedness of America turning its back on the UN is something that I got over a long time ago. Like, it's insane that we gave up on the UN. Like, our forefathers or our founders or whatever, like, the Constitution is great and all, but, like, these guys set up the UN for us. They put a steering wheel on the world, and then they helpfully put the steering wheel in New York City, and we didn't get it. We're like, what is this steering wheel doing here? It's ugly. Get rid of it.
I see it a little differently.
Yeah. You don't see the UN as an attempt to sort of solidify Western/American control over the world?
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
that's not what its stated purpose was in 1945.
No.
Stated purpose was to provide a place for countries to solve their disagreements and conflicts without the use of force.
Yeah, and then it was within 3 years, it was turned into an American peacekeeping force in Korea.
War-making force.
Yeah, war-making force. Yeah, you couldn't see my scare quotes. Yeah, war-making force. An attempt to get rid of surplus ammunition, honestly, is what it looks like to me. In
Well,
which, lots of people died.
I think it was one of the first shots in the Cold War.
Yeah. But I mean, so much for the UN's dream of peace right from the very beginning. So the UN was supposed to be like sort of like a meeting place? I guess
Right.
maybe like a
And
legislative.
it has a security council, but
Yeah.
which can use force or which can allow or enable
Yeah.
countries to use military force for very specific purposes in certain situations. All right, but I think the basic problem with the UN from 1945 until today, you probably, this fits with what you've been saying, the basic problem is it's been dominated too much by the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, if we
That's
had done a
not
good
how-
job, it would be a different matter. But we ran it into the ground and then got angry at it for crashing. It's our record with the UN has not been one of good stewardship.
Stewardship.
Yeah, stewardship. Yeah.
Right, but politicians or people in this country don't see it that way. They see the UN as a lot of people see the UN as some kind of sinister world government
Yeah.
that's aiming to take away the sovereignty of the United States.
Well,
That's the view on the right.
there's definitely an aspect of sinisterness going on in international politics, and conservatives have traditionally, all through history, been fairly decent compasses of where the sinisterness is coming from. Like, I got to give conservatives that, like, if you go back to the Civil War, as I want to do, like, the conservatives of the day were pretty sure that slave power was the problem. Like, the Know-Nothings, the American Party, they were pretty sure that there was some sort of conspiracy of slave owners to expand slave power through the South. And everybody was like, oh, no, you're ridiculous. No, they were 100% correct.
So who gave them the name Know Nothings?
They gave it to themselves.
Oh, all right.
Possibly a mistake. People would ask you it was supposed to be a secret society, so people ask you if you were part of the Nativist or the American Party, and you'd say, I know nothing. So people would started calling them Know Nothings, and I honestly don't know whether that was as funny then as it is today, but it is pretty funny. But yeah, anyway, so not to be a jerk about it, but my theory is like, you know how your dog, if your dog doesn't like somebody, you're probably not going to like them. And your dog can't explain why it doesn't like this person. But if every time somebody comes over to your house, your dog starts growling and their fur comes up, you're not going to hang out with that person, even though the dog can't really tell you what their problem was. And if the dog could talk, the dog would probably say something pretty dumb. Probably want to build a wall or something. But the dog is generally correct. And I'm sorry to say, like, I mean, it is dismissive, but that's how I feel about certain reactionary portions of our society, is that, like, they may be dumb, but they're definitely aware that something's wrong. They're definitely pointing in the right direction.
Well, people who are aware that something's wrong, something bad wrong, I think, are seeing something that's real.
Mm-hmm.
They're not shading their eyes and just trying to live in a fantasy world. They're onto something. Something is wrong in our system. And we can talk about nuclear weapons in another segment.
Okay.
But
Well, I believe I have a song queued up, so yeah, let's play some music and then talk about nuclear bombs. Hello there. Welcome back to WRFL 88.1 left WRFM dial. And this is Jeff Šebesta and Geoff Young. And we're talking about, well, I guess we could talk about nuclear bombs in Iran. Or actually...
All right, there aren't any.
Yeah, well, as they relate together. But as this is Radio Free Eskippakithiki, I'm making a point of not looking at... If I'm looking at it, I can say it. We have to talk about Kentucky news. And I'm desperate to talk about this thing in Nelson County. Even though, as you point out, it is quite different from what we've already experienced with the Kentucky Democratic Party. And there's some people involved in this story who are actually quite pleasant. Some very nice people. So I'm going to read from the Kentucky Standard for just a second. A registered Democrat in Nelson County has challenged David Reed's bid for the Democratic Party for State House. Betty Pendergrass, who sounds familiar, right, filed a lawsuit seeking Reed's removal from the ballot. The suit was filed Friday in Nelson Circuit Court. Nelson County is where Bardstown is. It's right between here and Louisville. It's really nice. It's where Stephen Foster was born. Rolling bluegrass and lots of distilleries, I think. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, the lawsuit claims Reed filed to run as a Democrat, not because he believes in the principles of the Democratic Party, but rather because he thought it was the most effective way to get rid of the Republican incumbent, State Representative Chad McCoy. First off, I thought that getting rid of Republican incumbents was the only principle of the Democratic Party. I mean, anybody does.
And it depends on how you frame it, too.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, hey, do you like, I don't know.
And also it depends on whether you're talking about the principles as written in the DNC charter or the principles as revealed by the practices of
this is a
leading
KDP
Democratic.
Thing. And this is Nelson County, these are decent people. Like, this is, so yeah, this is like Nelson County. These guys aren't even responsible for the DNC. They've probably never even met Nancy Pelosi.
Right.
They've come up with this on their own. Their own principles of the Nelson County Democratic Party, which shall be binding hereforth as soon as they are written down.
So what the ballot challenge statute was meant to prevent is candidates who were not constitutionally qualified or who basically had committed crimes against democracy from being on the ballot.
Yeah. And this guy has not committed a crime against democracy in any way. He's honestly,
Not that I can see.
Well, his point is
he might be cynical, he might be opportunistic and all that, but
this guy definitely tips the sincerometer so far.
Okay.
But who can say? Anyway, Reed accused the liberal elite of being behind the lawsuit in a statement he provided Friday evening. That sounds sincere to me. Sincerely incorrect, but the liberal elite does not live in Nelson County, sir.
Well, maybe some of them do.
Maybe a few of them do, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of nice people in Nelson County, but
the liberal elite on both coasts do not live in Nelson County, New York and L.A.
Oh, wait. The Nelson County Republican Party also issued a statement defending Reed and casting doubt on some of this lawsuit's claims.
Okay.
He said that he had not attended any of the meetings since he switched to his registration. The statement said, and I quote, "His wife Patty is a member of the executive committee and he drove her there because she can't drive at night. But he wasn't allowed in the meeting." No further questions. I mean...
Wait, he drove her to which party?
The Republican. She's on the Republican Party Executive Committee.
All right.
And
so he drove her there, right? Now,
wow.
It's not that the Republicans...
Oh, and then they go after their own guy. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Hold that thought for 1 second, and I'll finish this off. The county GOP also took the opportunity to take a swipe at one of its own candidates, incumbent McCoy. To say that Reed is not a Democrat, there are many in the local Republican Party that feel the same way about Mr. McCoy not being a Republican. This is the official statement of the Nelson County Republican Party.
Official statement,
yeah.
Cool.
On numerous occasions, he has publicly stated, "I fight Republicans on many issues. If it was this easy to get rid of candidates of a party, Mr. McCoy would have been challenged a year ago, but we believe in democracy." That's a sick burn. All right, I'm sorry. What were you going to say?
A really interesting article. All right, so it's not that the Nelson County Republican Party has to expel Mr. Reed from its meeting. It's just that they would be legally allowed to do so.
Yeah, they choose to because he might be seeking out Republican secrets of whatever kind.
They can expel a non-Republican for any reason or just the fact that they're not a Republican. But they don't have to.
Yeah.
They can allow him and his wife to continue to attend Republican meeting. Now, what the Democratic Party in Nelson County is not legally allowed to expel the one they're suing.
Yeah, Mr. Reed. Yeah.
They're not allowed to expel him because I happen to know that the Democratic Party bylaws say no, all Democrats may attend any meeting.
Yep. And he's a registered Democrat as of December 31st, 2019.
Right. So legally, that they can file a ballot challenge and the court will decide whether it succeeds or fails. And I'm interested to find out.
Yeah, I noticed you almost made a prediction there, but yeah, I agree. I would assume that the court would say no, but
no, I didn't assume that. I'm just interested.
Yeah, I'm definitely very interested as well. All right, now, next time, we promise to talk about nuclear bombs, those nuclear bombs you're hoping for. But first, a little light surf music.
Diameter 4.9 miles, mass over 6,000 megatons, and speed of 1,750 miles per second. And destination, Earth.
All right, hello, we're back. So let me announce the songs real fast. That was Escape Velocity by Man or Asterman. Before that was The Growlers with Social Man, Natural Affair. No, Natural Affair was the name of the album. Before that was the Preservation Hall Jazz Band with Descarga del Son. And before that was a song by Atmosphere called Bimi Ska? Hold on a second. Bidi Maka Ska. I played it because it had the word ska in it, and I liked it. And before that was Ellington Mingus Roach, Money Jungle. Haven't really played a lot on this show, but we've talked a lot. So, as to questions of Iran, Geoff, would you care to continue?
Well, there was an interesting news event related to nuclear weapons a few days ago. There's an organization formed in the late 1940s called the Bulletin of the Atomic Scientists. And they had the idea to start a doomsday clock, which would be an indicator to the world or to the people who read their magazine of how close we are to apocalypse.
Yeah.
So nuclear weapons first used in 1945, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Shortly thereafter, this organization forms and creates a doomsday clock. And over the decades, over the years, the number of minutes to midnight has changed, has gotten closer to midnight, which midnight represents a nuclear war.
Yeah.
The ultimate disaster, which could kill every person on Earth. And a lot of other innocent species as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it wouldn't be good for the environment. I mean, in the long run, maybe a little bit. But
in the long run, who knows?
So they're talking about like a global nuclear war or a limited nuclear war where people...
Well, I guess midnight would be a global one. So it's been, 17 minutes to midnight when various nuclear weapons reduction treaties have been signed and implemented. That's brings us farther away from a nuclear war. Oh, and it also includes the global environment as a factor in how many minutes to midnight they're going to set the clock. They set it every January.
And now they've set it to seconds to midnight, right?
Yeah. In the last 2 years, 2018, 2019, it has been at 2 minutes to midnight, which is the closest, it's equal to the closest it's ever been to a nuclear war.
Yeah.
The first time it was at 2 minutes to midnight was in 1953 when the Soviets exploded in a test a hydrogen bomb, which until that time only the United States was thought to have those.
Yeah.
So then there were some nuclear arms treaties, and the clock moved back, got as far as 17 minutes to midnight. All right, so in the last couple of years, it's been 2 minutes to midnight.
Yeah.
Urgent situation, very alarming, and that's the purpose of this whole organization, is to
Raise alarm.
raise alarm when it's warranted.
I'm alarmed.
When alarm is warranted. So in
Inform
2020,
Sweden. I'm concerned.
they moved it 20 seconds closer to midnight, which is the worst it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's now 100 seconds.
So in these guys' opinion,
midnight.
they're saying that the situation right now is the worst it's ever been with some sort of
the
extinction level event.
possibility of a nuclear war.
It's got to be nuclear? I guess these
Yeah.
guys only care about nuclear.
That's their main focus. But they also, as I say, they bring in environmental crises also.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what they know that I don't know.
Well, they looked at certain things. They explain their reasoning every year as to why they moved it either forward or backward or kept it the same.
Yeah.
President Trump unilaterally withdrew the United States from the intermediate range nuclear
Yeah.
forces treaty, which mainly relates to Europe.
Well, it also means that we just won't be trusted as much with treaties in the future. Just
Right.
He
Right.
proved that American presidents can just arbitrarily throw away treaties.
Right.
Which wasn't anything that anybody wanted proven.
Right.
So it just adds to the general instability. I
So
guess
that was a major factor. It echoes, in some ways, the George W. Bush administration's decision to withdraw the United States from the Anti-Ballistic Missile Treaty,
yeah.
ABM Treaty, in 2001. So Bush and Cheney's first year in office, they removed the United States from the ABM Treaty. That had long-term implications, although in our news it probably was covered for a few days.
Yeah, I barely remember it happening.
Same here.
Yeah.
But the implications are that, let's see, it was Russia then. It was not still the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
The implications are that Russia was going to develop new offensive capabilities, able to get around or get through or evade or negate any ABM system that the United States developed.
Yeah.
And they did that.
Yeah.
And a couple of years ago, Vladimir Putin announced in his annual State of Russia speech to his country that they had developed some hypersonic
missiles, yeah.
missiles that could defeat any ABM system that existed presently or that would be developed in the next couple decades.
Yeah.
So what Russia went
At that
ahead
point,
and
they're trying
did,
to shoot down a bullet.
they felt, they felt they had to develop these offensive missiles to restore the sense of stability called mutually assured destruction, MAD. And that
a
theory,
mad sense of sensibility. Stability, yeah.
that
piece of the dervish.
doctrine
Yeah.
developed in the 1950s when the Soviet Union developed some nuclear weapons to put up against the United States nuclear weapons, says that anybody who conducts a first strike, either country, would be hit by a devastating second strike and everybody would be wiped out.
Yeah.
Mutually assured destruction was a form of deterrence
Yeah.
and stability. It gave a little bit of stability to this insane situation.
Yeah. It's a very cynical innovation, but that is actually what it did. It was an invention. It didn't exist. They created it. They worked it out, and in a sense, it did work for a while.
So when George W. Bush in 2001 withdrew from the ABM treaty, it was for the purpose of allowing our military-industrial complex to work on and develop and make money off of anti-ballistic missile systems.
They wanted to buy them again.
Right.
Even though they already knew they wouldn't work. So they got rid of a treaty to build a device that they knew wouldn't work.
Some people knew it wouldn't work. I went to MIT, and there was an expert there, Theodore Postol, who knew that they wouldn't work. As you just said, it's like trying to shoot down a bullet with a bullet.
Well, I mean, how much the Bush administration believed itself is still an open question to me.
Yeah.
I mean...
in a way, they benefit by not knowing.
I can't even quite grasp the cupidity that it requires to break a treaty in order to sell yourself a weapon that you know isn't going to work. It just doesn't...
Yeah. Well...
Yeah.
An old friend of mine...
Yeah.
One of his favorite mottos was, against stupidity, the gods themselves contend in vain.
Well, there's something about communities and societies and committees that create bad behavior and engender, or what's the word? Enhance, nurture?
Yeah.
Yeah, they nurture bad behavior. They cause people... I mean, we've seen it dozens of times. People that would never be rude to you on the street. Like would never say a mean thing to you at Kroger's, become ravening beasts when they feel they're defending a committee decision, a committee decision that it so happens they conveniently made. Right.
Well, it's a form of mob rule.
People behave badly in groups.
Well, mobs.
Mm-hmm.
People can behave very well in groups, but they can also behave very badly if it turns into a mob.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's a very good point. Because
some groups are great.
Most groups are made out of incredibly nice people, but I've seen such terrible behavior in group contexts. Basically, everything I've ever seen that's wasn't just straight out psychopathic violence was somebody, trying to get somebody over on somebody else and something over on somebody else in an in-group. Yeah. In some sort of in-group. I mean, it's just...
Or two in-groups fighting each other.
Yeah. But people hate traitors more than anything. They persecute the traitors.
Oh.
The need to expel that which is different is so strong in human beings.
Uh-huh.
By the way, have you seen coronavirus making the news lately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A fellow at the Y warned me not to go to New York or Beijing.
Sure.
I said, well, yeah, I wasn't planning any trips, and he laughed.
Yeah, all right. I'll stay out of Beijing. I will just note that every major election, there's some sort of disease scare. Huh. And some people think it's some sort of conspiracy. I don't think it has to be a conspiracy. I think it might just be like similar sections of the brain activating each other, like the need to achieve political purity. It comes with the need to wash your hands too much and be afraid of some terrible foreign disease. But you can actually, Google Trends is a great place to look at this. You can actually map the interest in some major infectious swine flu. Yeah. Something like that. Some disease, and it always ramps up with the election, and immediately after the election it disappears.
Interesting pattern.
I will provide links to prove this. I've seen it on the internet. It's true. All right, well, let's read a PSA, and let's do a PSA real fast so that we are at least within bounds of our show. This is from Pop's Resale, and I think we're... okay, this is good. All right, so we decided that these topics are all much too big, and we won't be able to finish up any of them because the show's over in 17 minutes. So I guess most of the people that are hearing this are going to be hearing this in the future, but you're always welcome to call in at 859-257-WRFL, and this is 88.1 WRFL. Thank you very much to the radio for hosting us. This is a lot of fun. We're going to have... guests in the future, mostly people from Kentucky politics or local Kentucky musicians. I think we have high hopes that we're going to get Frank Harris, the Libertarian candidate for 6th District U.S. House of Representatives, and also Will Hurst, the fellow who's running for U.S. House of State Legislature, State House, in District 97 out in the Red River Gorge area, Menifee and Wolf. And we have been trying to get people from Nelson County to come talk to us because this story is fascinating. So anyway, thank you so much for listening. Thanks to us for being here, I guess. Geoff, do you have anything else you want to wrap up for today?
Well, I look at these conversations we're having about major issues as kind of ongoing conversations, and I agree. We're not going to wrap them up for good in 1 hour.
Yeah, I really was expecting to have a withdrawal plan for Afghanistan by 7 o'clock today. Gotta admit, I'm a little disappointed. Maybe I should have put more money in the parking meter. But, I mean, God, it's like 7 in the morning and we're still in Iran. Ugh. Anyway, I guess we're going to play some more music to fill our contractual obligation to the station because they like it when we play music. This is a band called Anti-Flag, who has been around for a long time, with a song called Christian Nationalist. I do not endorse this song or its album cover art or really anything about it except the concept of punk rock, which I certainly do endorse. No, quick, talk about Iran. That wasn't a good song. Okay, there is one thing I wanted to say, which is that in my very long and endless day, which included going to the Clark County Democratic Party, because if you live in Clark County, you may know I'm trying to get people out of jail. My New Year's resolution was to get as many people out of the detention center as possible, because it doesn't even have anything to do with crime. Like, those people are in there for not having bail and not being able to make phone calls. Like, they aren't even up to their trial yet. So I don't see any ethical objection to getting them out of there as quickly as possible. And so I went to the Clark County Democratic Party today, and as usual, I had a bunch of ideas. And as usual, nobody liked any of them. But actually, I said something and somebody liked it. And it may happen, which is that when you have bond, when you're in jail, let's say your bond's for $5,000. Well, you only have to put up $500 of that, and then you get it back minus the court fees, because of course they want their court fees when you show up for the for trial. And there's people. I mean, and this is really well known. I am not a latecomer to this issue at all. I just spent a year going to every political rally in Kentucky talking about stuff like this, and actually, Greg Snumbo was on in the debate on KET. He talked about bail reform quite a bit and made some really good points, like that if there's a guy in Bell County who's been in jail for a petty theft charge for something like 8 months because he just can't afford the bail. Mm-hmm. And the bail's like $200. And like, if your bail, what Greg Snumbo said, and I agree with, is that if you live in Bell County and you don't have $200, you're not a flight risk. You'll be there. It's not an issue. So what bail's meant to do is sort of ridiculous anyway, and it is a tax on the poor. So my idea, maybe you'll like it, was that there's no reason why we can't do a Kickstarter or a GoFundMe or something like that and just put together $500 and go down to the detention center and say, bail out the first person on your list. And when they come back for their trial in 2 weeks or 6 weeks or however long it is, and they get that money back, you put it back into the system and you get another person out.
Kind of like a bail bond co-op.
Yeah, like a pay it forward for getting poor people out of jail. And you can some people will complain that it's not fair because it doesn't get to everybody instantly, and that is true. It would not. And obviously some people are going to be like, well, what if somebody's out on bail and they commit a crime? Well, yeah. I mean, what if any human being, what if any American citizen commits a crime at any time? This isn't really about that because these people haven't even been tried yet. They're just being held in jail because they don't have the money for their bond. It's a very different thing. So why not Kickstarter it? And actually somebody liked that idea. So maybe something, I don't know. What do you think? Does that sound rational?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, why not? Okay, well, we wasted enough time and stopped you from listening to that song about whatever that was about. And the new DJ is on soon. What you just heard before that was Anti-Flag with Christian Nationalist. And now is a song by Wolf Parade. Enjoy.
The sounds you're hearing are uncommon for commercial radio. They come from the fifth dimension, a space beyond what is known to man. It is the middle ground between sight, sound, and mind. It is the area of imagination. 88.1 megahertz is a safe haven for all manners of alternative broadcasting, and you reach this station by turning the dial all the way to the left. By listening, you cross over into an area which we call WRFL Lexington.
That's right, everybody. Good morning on this fine Tuesday. Happy Taco Tuesday, everybody. Hopefully you are off to a good start if you're already up this early, man. Nobody should be up this early if they're not going to be in a good mood. I'm not even saying, like, you have to be positive or waking up saying good morning and hello and being all bright and cheery, but waking up in a bad mood, it just sets off the rest of the day to be a bad mood. So either go neutral or positive right now, and we'll get through this together, and we can all enjoy our tacos this evening. My name's Carson. I'll be here with you for the next couple of hours till 9 a.m. Give me a shout at 859-257-WRFL. That's 859-257-9735 with any requests, thoughts, or ponderings and whatnot on your morning commute. I'm here for your ears, so let me know what I can do to make your morning just a little bit better. Kicking off the show, normally we bounce all over the place, but tonight I am fortunate enough to see the funk fusion band Lettuce performing live in Louisville at Mercury Ballroom, so I'm very excited for that. And as a result, I'm in a bit more of a jam band feeling this morning, so we're going to get those nice 5 to 7 minute tracks going, something you can really get lost to and really travel deep in your thoughts as you make your way to work this morning. Or if you're just now getting off work, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I can help play something that might put you to sleep in a good way while also waking up the people who just got up. Man, this is a really complicated hour for some people. But nonetheless, that's enough talking. Let's get on to the music. This is Karate Boogaloo with Edge of 17.